The gentle act of release, a Buddha reflection. I didn't notice it at first, how tightly I was holding everything together. The pain was there, yes, but something deeper was exhausting me. This constant effort to make life stay the way I wanted. And then, in a quiet moment, I saw it clearly. Holding on was hurting me more than what I was holding on to. The moment the grip hurts. There comes a quiet point in every storm when you notice something unexpected. The pain is still there, but something deeper begins to ache more than the pain itself. It is the effort of holding on. You feel it in the chest, in the tightening of the jaw, in the constant replay of how things should have been. And in that moment, almost gently, you begin to see that the struggle is not only with what happened, but with your refusal to let it be as it is. The Buddha once sat with this same tension, not as a distant teacher, but as a human being watching his own mind resist reality. And what he saw was simple and unsettling. The mind clings not because things are stable, but because it fears they are not. Like gripping a rope in a storm. You believe holding tighter will save you, even as it tears your hands. And slowly, through observation, a quieter intelligence begins to emerge. The possibility that release does not come from fixing the storm, but from loosening the grip. The weight of what should be. You may not notice it at first, but much of your exhaustion does not come from life itself. It comes from the quiet argument running beneath every moment. This should not be happening. This was not the plan. This is not who I am supposed to be. And that silent resistance builds a second layer of suffering, one that wraps tightly around the first. The Buddha did not try to silence this voice by force. He watched it. He noticed how the mind builds a world of expectations, then suffers when reality refuses to follow the script. Like planting a rigid tree in shifting sand, the roots strain against movement. And yet life moves anyway. When you begin to see this clearly, something softens. You stop demanding that life match your idea of it. And in that softening, a small space opens. Not yet peace, but the beginning of it. The illusion of solid ground. What you hold as fixed is already changing beneath your hands. There is a subtle belief that runs quietly through your life. That things, people, even you, have a stable center you can rely on. You build identity from it. You build hope from it. But when life shifts, as it always does, that sense of ground begins to crack. And the fear that follows feels overwhelming. The Buddha looked directly into this instability and did not turn away. He saw that what appears solid is more like a river, always moving, never the same twice. Your thoughts shift, your emotions rise and fall, your roles change without asking permission. And instead of resisting this, he allowed it to be seen. Like watching waves instead of trying to freeze them. When you begin to see life this way, the fear of change starts to loosen. Not because change stops, but because you are no longer asking it to. The visitor within. Pain often arrives like an uninvited guest. It settles into your body, your thoughts, your sense of self. And before long, you begin to say, "This is me now. This sadness is who I am. This fear defines me." Without noticing, the visitor becomes a permanent resident in your mind. But the Buddha approached suffering differently. He did not merge with it, he observed it. Like watching a cloud pass across the sky. He saw that even the heaviest emotions had movement. They arose, they lingered, and they faded. When you begin to relate to your pain this way, something shifts. You are no longer trapped inside it, you are aware of it. and that awareness creates a quiet distance, just enough to breathe again. The space between breaths. In the middle of overwhelm, there is something almost invisible that you rarely notice. A pause. A space between one reaction and the next. It is small, easily missed, but it is always there, waiting. The Buddha discovered that this space is where freedom lives. Not in controlling what happens, but in how you meet it. When anger rises, there is a moment before it becomes action. When fear appears, there is a moment before it becomes escape. Like standing at the edge of a river before stepping in. You have a choice, even if it feels subtle. And when you begin to rest in that space, even briefly, life starts to feel less like something happening to you and more like something you are learning to move with. Insight, Perception, and Awareness Quiz. After you have listened, open the quiz tab. The questions reveal how you interpreted what you heard and invite you to notice the hidden logic in your reactions. Then, share your score in the comments. The Gentle Unraveling. Freedom is not found by holding tighter, but by seeing clearly what cannot be held. There is a quiet unraveling that begins when you stop trying to control every outcome. It does not happen all at once. It is gradual, almost tender, like a knot loosening in warm water. The tension begins to soften without force. The Buddha did not teach letting go as an act of willpower. He showed that letting go happens naturally when you see clearly. When you truly understand that nothing stays, the grip weakens on its own. You no longer need to convince yourself to release. You simply stop holding so tightly. And in that release, something surprising appears. Not loss, but lightness. Not emptiness as absence, but as space. The river of identity. You have spent years becoming someone. Building a sense of self from memories, roles, successes, failures. And yet, when life changes, that identity feels threatened. As if something essential is being taken away. The Buddha looked closely at this sense of self and saw something unexpected. It was not a fixed thing, but a flowing process. Like a river that appears continuous but is always new. The person you were last year is not the same as now. Yet you carry the illusion of continuity. When you begin to see identity this way, the fear of losing yourself starts to soften. Because you realize there was never a fixed self to lose. Only movement, only change. The storm is teacher. When difficulty arrives, the first instinct is to escape. To fix, to solve, to get back to comfort as quickly as possible. But in doing so, you often miss something important. The storm is not only an interruption. It is revealing something you could not see before. The Buddha did not avoid hardship. He turned toward it with curiosity. He saw that suffering exposes the places where you are still clinging. Still resisting, still unaware. Like strong wind revealing the weak branches of a tree. Difficulty shows you where attention is needed. And when you begin to meet challenges this way, they lose some of their threat. They become part of the path, not a detour from it. The seeds you cannot see. What you experience now has roots beyond what you remember. There are moments when life feels unfair. When pain arrives without clear reason. You search your past, trying to understand why this is happening. But the answers remain unclear and the frustration deepens. The Buddha offered a different way of seeing. He understood that every moment is shaped by countless conditions, many of them invisible. Like seeds planted long ago, some experiences bloom far from their origin. This is not about blame. It is about understanding that life unfolds through cause and effect, often beyond immediate awareness. When you begin to see this, the question shifts. Not why is this happening to me, but how will I meet this moment now? The end of blame. Blame feels natural when things go wrong. You turn it outward or inward, trying to locate a cause you can hold on to. But blame, in any direction, tightens the mind and closes the heart. The Buddha saw that this habit only deepens suffering. It keeps you stuck in the past, replaying what cannot be changed. Instead, he invited attention to the present response. Like standing in the rain, you may not have caused the storm, but you can choose whether to resist it or learn how to move within it. And in that shift, blame begins to dissolve, replaced by a quieter responsibility. Not for what happened, but for how you continue. The middle path of effort. There is a subtle trap in trying to improve your life. You push too hard, trying to force change. Or you give up entirely, feeling overwhelmed. Both lead to more strain, more confusion. The Buddha walked a different path. Not force, not passivity, but balance. Like tuning a stringed instrument, too tight and it snaps. Too loose and it does not play. Right effort is not about pushing life into place. It is about aligning with it. When you begin to act from this balance, effort feels different. It becomes steady, sustainable, almost quiet. And progress happens without the same tension. The heart that stays open. In staying with what hurts, the heart learns its true strength. There is a natural urge to close when pain appears. To protect, to withdraw, to harden just enough to avoid feeling too much. And for a while, this seems to work. But over time, that same closing also limits your ability to feel joy, connection, and ease. The Buddha discovered that the heart does not break from feeling. It breaks from resistance. When you allow experience to move through you. Even when it is uncomfortable, something deeper begins to grow. A strength that is not rigid, but open. Like a tree bending in the wind, you remain rooted, yet flexible. And in that openness, life begins to flow again. The quiet strength of presence. You may think strength means enduring without breaking, pushing through no matter what. But there is another kind of strength, one that does not rely on force. The Buddha showed that true strength is presence. The ability to stay with what is happening without turning away. When you sit with your experience, even for a moment, without trying to change it, you discover something unexpected. You are not as fragile as you believed. The experience moves, shifts, changes. And you remain, not untouched, but not destroyed. The freedom of not knowing. One of the hardest things to accept is uncertainty. The mind wants clarity, control, a clear path forward. And when it cannot find it, anxiety grows. The Buddha did not try to eliminate uncertainty. He became comfortable within it. Like walking through fog, you may not see far ahead, but you can still take the next step. When you stop demanding certainty, the pressure begins to lift. You no longer need to have everything figured out. You only need to stay present with what is here. And strangely, that is enough. The open hand. When nothing is clung to, everything can be touched fully. In the end, what you discover is not a solution to every problem, but a different way of being with life. less gripping, less resisting, more allowing. The storms still come, the changes still happen, but your relationship to them shifts. The Buddha did not remove suffering from life. He revealed the way through it. A way that is not built on control, but on understanding. And as you begin to live from that understanding, something quiet and steady takes root. A sense that you can meet whatever comes, not perfectly, but with awareness. Not without pain, but without being lost in it. And in that, there is a kind of freedom that does not depend on circumstances. A freedom that has been here all along, waiting for you to see it. This is Buddha Reflections Dash, where philosophy, insight, and lived experience meet to explore mind, impermanence, and release. The conversation doesn't end here. Visit the quiz tab and share your score in the comments. Thanks for your time, it's been a delight. What should we explore next? Comment, share, and save your insight. Subscribe to Orbital Dharma and keep your thoughts bright.